Last week's winter storm was historic for our state, both in weather and how it affected our utility system. In Oklahoma City, the temperature hit 14 below zero. It was the coldest it had been since 1899. We stayed below 20 degrees for almost a week straight, the longest in at least 60 years. This truly was a once-in-a-lifetime storm. Across the country, there were more than 100 records set for all-time cold temperatures last week. Weather that cold for that long has caused problems on our power system that we had never seen before. The Southwest Power Pool became part of our daily conversations as more people learned about the 14-state region that we share energy with. The SPP had never gone past a level 1, but in 5 hours it went from a level 0 to a level 3 emergency. That meant outages for people in Oklahoma and 13 other states with little or no warning. The historic cold caused major challenges to our energy supply. Renewable sources like wind and solar dropped to almost zero production. Natural gas wells froze and compressor stations went offline. That left utility companies really scrambling to buy extra energy on the spot market at skyrocketing prices. Because of that, I know many Oklahomans are worried about what this could mean for their utility bills. And I want you to know that we're going to do everything we can to help you and your families get through this. Oklahomans, I know you did your part because Oklahomans came together to conserve energy when we requested that last Sunday morning. Our grid stayed intact. We're so fortunate to have avoided catastrophic or long-term outages like they did with our neighbors to the south. Now that the immediate health and safety threat is over, the leaders here with me today, we have two main goals. Number one, to do everything we can to help Oklahomans get financial assistance for their upcoming bills, energy bills. And number two, to get to the bottom of this and learn what we need to do so this never happens again. Under the Oklahoma's Constitution, certain powers are separated and duties are divided between our branches of government. That's why you see everyone standing here with me together today. We're going to turn over every rock until we find a solution.
We want to make sure that Oklahomans don't have to declare bankruptcy just to do their bills, and I don't want to panic anyone because we've got a lot of options we're working through. The Senate, along with the House and with the governor and our other partners here, look forward to locking arms and working together to help Oklahomans through this. I'm going to form a select committee in the Senate. I've asked Senator James Leewright to head that up. He's joined us today, so thank you, Senator Leewright, for being willing to do that. I look forward to working with Speaker McCall, the governor, and others here to come to solutions for Oklahomans.
The Oklahoma House of Representatives also is going to exercise its legislative duty. We will utilize our Utilities Committee. Chairman Gary Mize will lead the group in assessing the situation. We will conduct public hearings on the matter to ascertain what needs to be done going forward. You know, what is very unique about this event is that it affected all 101 House districts in the state of Oklahoma. Typically, we see natural disasters affect just certain parts of the state or confined to one particular locality in contrast with, say, with a tornado. This one has affected everybody in the state of Oklahoma. And the people of the state of Oklahoma are very concerned as to what that's going to mean to them on their next set of utility bills. It is not acceptable to the House of Representatives to have skyrocketing utility rates. We've heard rumors of rates maybe multiplying by a factor of 20 or 40 times. That's not acceptable, and I hope that is just concern hearsay, innuendo, and it's not the situation. But I believe the House of Representatives is willing to move forward and step in to help stabilize the situation. I think the recent Board of Equalization numbers that were discussed last week give us the capacity to respond to a crisis like this. But together, we'll get through this. We always do, and we will find a way to lower and minimize the burden for the people of the state of Oklahoma.
The Office of Attorney General has two responsibilities in dealing with the challenges of the next several weeks. One is we represent, our office by statute represents ratepayers before the Corporation Commission. Pursuant to that, we're going to be working closely with the Corporation Commission, with the commissioners and Brandy Reith, who heads up the Public Utility Division at the Corporation Commission. The goal there is to, in as substantive and as productive a way as possible, to figure out ways to mitigate the impact of this utility bill phenomenon that we're expecting to see in the next couple of months. So let me just make one plea here to those who are going to be billing consumers. It is in everybody's interest, it's in your interest to suspend automatic payments that are in place and go ahead and bill people manually, because people haven't contemplated the bills that we're going to be perhaps looking at. So if you're an entity that, again, is providing power to a customer, I think it's in everybody's interest. It's in your interest to avoid payments that don't go through, as well as putting customers in a bad situation with their bank. So if you can move to manual payments for the next 60, 90 days, that's our strong recommendation. We also have responsibility in the Office of the Attorney General overseeing and enforcing the Price Stabilization Act. So when the governor issued his executive order on Friday, there was some pricing activity already that had gas at $300 an MCF. So we're going to be looking carefully at the extent to which the Price Stabilization Act's been violated. I will tell folks that the myriad of ways that natural gas can be marketed is something that we're going to be working through, but it does present a challenge. But again, first and foremost, we need to make sure that we have a strategy in place so that folks don't get a bill that's going to be completely unmanageable here in the next little bit.
When the governor said there were two goals, there is something else that falls under that second goal of mitigating these costs, and that's allaying fears of Oklahomans that they're suddenly going to wake up, open an email or open their mail, or worse yet, get an automatic bank draft of some bill that would send their life into a frenzy. And so in working nearly hourly with Brandy Reith at the Public Utilities Division of the Oklahoma Corporation Commission and the three commissioners as well, and certainly numerous calls with General Hunter, and as well as discussions with every utility, the Southwest Power Pool, gas providers, oil and gas producers, and gas processors during this process. We need to understand that the vast majority of Oklahomans will not see a dramatic increase in their energy bills as a result of these rising gas costs. So I think it's important, and I'll explain that a little bit further, but I think it's important to differentiate your energy usage, both in gas provided to your home for heating through a utility and electric power provided by a utility company that generates power. We will see increases in bills as a result of 2 to 3 times the amount of usage. So your bill at the same gas costs and fuel costs will reflect proportionally the amount of increased usage that you did as a result of this historic storm. As it relates to the pass along of gas costs, as hopefully mitigated by the great work of Attorney General Hunter, our legislature, and seeking relief from our federal partners. Those costs, which are ultimately passed along, won't be passed along immediately. And this, Brandy and I are both here to answer more questions about this, but this will include your large regulated electric providers like OG&E and PSO. They will include your large gas providers like Oklahoma Natural Gas and CenterPoint. It will also, although unregulated by the Corporation Commission, include the rural electric cooperative customers and providers who have committed to mitigating these costs as best they can by spreading them out over time with those amounts that are ultimately chargeable to consumers. The same would be true for municipal electric customers, where your power is provided by the Oklahoma Municipal Power Authority, which is about 42 Oklahoma communities, the Grand River Dam Authority, which provides power to around 20 additional communities. They have both committed to spreading these costs over time, like the rural electric co-ops and the regulated utilities. There is a section of people who need to be aware that we don't know what the impact could be on theirs. It's a small section, but it's those municipal customers who get their gas from a non-regulated gas provider. So if you have a municipality with its own utility, a city or town, and we don't know who they have their gas provided from, we don't regulate that on a rate basis, and they don't report to us in that way. So in those instances, we would ask that you contact your city provider to get more guidance. I know that all of us up here are willing to help in any way we can as those become known to us, and we are pledging to do anything we can to mitigate those impacts. The other group that would be impacted by additional extraordinary costs would be commercial customers, large commercial customers and industrial customers who on a deregulated market get their gas from a provider that is unregulated in the same way that they provide gas to the cities. So those are the things that we know today, is to really allay fears that the vast majority of Oklahomans' only increases will be a direct result of their usage in this most immediate billing cycle. And then over time, you will see worked out how we pay for whatever charges are unmitigated and left to be borne by the consumers as a result of commission action or action of the leaders and their bodies that you see here today.
Last week's federal emergency declaration was a great first step to help our communities with costs associated with sheltering and mass care. Unfortunately, the declaration does not provide assistance to homeowners and renters who are dealing with the damages to their homes from this winter storm. That's why we're working to build a case with FEMA and the White House and through the governor's support to request additional assistance for Oklahomans across the state. We are asking people to report their winter storm damage and other related impacts online at damage.ok.gov. The types of damage you can report include flooding from broken pipes, power surges that cause damages to your furnaces, electrical systems, or major appliances, your number of days without water, gas, or electricity, and the number of days that you have been displaced by the storm. Also, any injuries that have been sustained because of this storm. Again, if you have any storm-related impacts that fit into these categories, please report them online at damage.ok.gov. We also know this winter storm has been incredibly hard on communities and local governments. Cities and counties have worked tirelessly to shelter hundreds of people during below zero temperatures and have dealt with unprecedented infrastructure issues, including the damage to more than 120 public water systems. Oklahoma Department of Emergency Management and Homeland Security has responded to over 31 missions for water system requests alone from local jurisdictions just in this week. Our staff is also working to collect additional storm-related emergency costs from cities, counties, tribes, and state agencies so that the governor can request further assistance for the state.
As you've heard here today, our entire state government is united. Our mission is to help Oklahomans with their utility bills and to make sure a situation like this doesn't happen again. And I know the Attorney General has already been looking into many of these situations, and I thank him and his staff for all of their hard work. When I talked with President Biden last week, I made sure he knew about the challenges that we were facing here in Oklahoma with our utility bills. He pledged the federal government support, and I'm hopeful we can continue to keep these conversations going. I'm going to be traveling to Washington, D.C. tomorrow and Wednesday, meeting with our federal delegation to make sure that Oklahomans, that we have every resource available here for our citizens in the state of Oklahoma. And like I said, we're going to get through this, and we're going to do everything we can to help Oklahoma's families get through it. And we're going to get to the bottom of what happened and make sure this doesn't happen again to the state of Oklahoma.